All right, folks, this happened really quick. I did not expect James Franklin to get fired so quickly, especially after, they were two terrible, terrible losses. You lost to UCLA and Northwestern, that's impossible. You can't lose. That's the bottom of the barrel of the Big Ten. And Penn State is a team that I didn't have them in pencil. I had them in ink to go to the playoff this year. Then I had them, Ohio State, and Oregon as guaranteed to go to the playoff, and because they never lose the games they're not supposed to, to lose. Now they never win any huge games, but they're always very consistent. And Franklin is just, jeez. I'm sure the folks in Big Ten world are absolutely shocked right now. And this is going to have a huge role in a bunch of other dominoes falling right after this, because here's what's going to happen. Penn State is a big-time name with lots of money. And I'm going to show you how much money. Well, actually, I'll show you right now how much money, and then we'll get into who I think they're going to go after. But let's get into this. Yeah, of course, they just fired him 12. He was there for a dozen years. They're going to owe him $49 million, which is almost Jimbo Fisher money. We're getting close to Jimbo Fisher money right there. Got associate head coach Terry Smith's going to serve as the interim head coach. And they were just in the college football playoff semifinals last year. But getting whooped by UCLA just shocked them. And they are not happy in Happy Valley. But then the Northwestern loss is just, that can't happen. Northwestern is just not very good. So this is this is going to play a huge role moving forward with a whole lot of things. Let's see. Let me get out of this real quick, and we'll talk about what I think is going to happen here. Now we're going to have what I call the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes, because that might be a good fit for Penn State. They're probably thinking that we need to get ahead of everybody else. To pay $49 million to get rid of a coach, given the fact that you've got to come up with 20.5 every year and then 4% more every year after that, they must have a ton of money up there, because that's crazy. I was just sitting here looking at how much money he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid $667,000 per month until 2031. Almost $1 million a month until 2031. He was making $8.5 million a year, and he's owed the entirety of the contract, not just a percentage. He's got to do it all. Let's see. Dustin says Kiffin. Yeah, but Kiffin likes money too. Although they're not paying, they were paying Franklin 8.5. Heck, Lane's getting 9 right now. They'll have to go to at least 10 to get him, and there's no guarantee you're going to get him. But he might. I could see him looking at that job, because it's a big job. Now, this puts a ton of pressure on Florida. The Billy Napier situation, they don't want a big team in front of them. See, they're not worried about Virginia Tech or UCLA's looking for a coach, or Oklahoma State. They don't care. Florida's not caring about that. They will care about Penn State looking for a coach. You can guarantee that. And rightfully so, because Penn State's got this. And it's a big name. And they can recruit. They're the big dog in Pennsylvania. So he may not, I don't know. You got to realize Lane Kiffin's a West Coast guy. So West Coast, Northeast, it's not that much difference. I think he'd get along fine up there. It's not going to be Nick Saban. Nick Saban's done. He's done. Should have gotten him at the time. Well, here's the thing. He was great at Vanderbilt, and he did a great job at Penn State for the most part. Let's take a look-see at his record. He's had a good run. He really has. If you sit here and look at what he's – oh, Lord. Calm down there. Okay. He was 13-3 last year, 10-3 the year before that, 11-2. it's not like they struggled that much. He was 7-6 in 2021 and 4-5 during the virus year, but then he was 11-2 before that. So his last 3 years, he's averaged 11.5 wins. I mean, that's really, really good. And he's coming off his best year with 13 wins. But he went 3-3. He had those 2 huge losses. He almost beat Oregon. They came this close to beating Oregon, and then they just fell off the cliff. But you can't lose to the bottom dwellers of the Big Ten and expect nothing to happen to you. So, Dan Mullen, somebody's got Dan Mullen in here. What do y'all think? I think they're going to definitely call Lane Kiffin. That'll probably be their first one without question. I mean, he's the big-time hire that, you pretty much know he's willing to leave if the money's right. Although he didn't go to Auburn, but he may have gotten to the point where his kids are pretty squared away. I mean, that one girl's dating LSU guy, so I think she'll be all right with it. Let's see. Well, that's Saban will say no. Look, Saban's making $25 million a year just talking. So that's not going to happen. Yeah, Auburn could hire James Franklin. Absolutely could. Because he's available. Somebody's going to pick James Franklin up. I don't know that it'll be an SEC school, but he's had success in the SEC. I mean, he won at Vanderbilt when nobody could. That was way before Diego Pavia ever showed up. So, Cignetti. Now, here's the thing about Cignetti. He's getting some age on him. He's well into his 60s. But, boy, he's had a lot of success there at Indiana real quick. So, he's going to be a hot name. And I don't know if Indiana's been spending money in NIL, though. They spent like almost $15 million to $20 million last year. And they're really good this year. I don't know. Why would you leave Indiana where you're the big dog and everybody loves you? You're going to go up to Penn State, and they're going to expect you to win 13 games. And I don't know that you can recruit any better at Penn State than you could Indiana. I mean, it sounds like Indiana's putting the money where their mouth is. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm Cignetti, if I would go to that. It's a pressure cooker, okay? You've just seen. They'll pay you $49 million to not coach if you lose 2 games in a row to 2 cellar dwellers, even if you're coming off 13 wins, your best season ever. So, and a lot of that too, familiarity breeds resentment, and you can have a coach too long. Coaches wear out their welcome over time, especially a coach that's gotten close many, many times and never really gotten over the top. You start, you can get spoiled. Look, Penn State could go back to winning 7-8 ball games like that. James Franklin got him out of that mess. So, look, they're probably just a spoiled fan base, which, that's fine. I can totally understand that. I watched Tennessee go through it. We went through it with Fulmer. We got real spoiled in the 90s. And then we had to go through a Butch Jones. Of course, Lane creaked us after a year, put us in a really bad spot. Then Dooley, that was a horrible hire. He was 4-7 at Louisiana Tech when we brought him in, but it's because we were in a terrible situation because of Kiffin. And then we brought in Jeremy Pruitt. We've done some good things out there today, Jeremy. Ugh, what a mess that was. So a fan base can get spoiled and forget what it's like to be mediocre. So, Mark Stoops, boy, they'd love to get rid of him in Kentucky, but it's $37 million. I can't believe Penn State's coming up with 4. This really surprises me. I know those are 2 terrible losses, but he's coming off 13 wins. He's had 3 great years in a row, averaging 11.5. Greg Schiano. Greg Schiano, definitely give me a break. The mean Butch Jones, the bully Butch Jones. And we're not talking about Jerry. So, Mark Stoops, he's going to stay where he's at. He's going to win 4 games this year. They're going to be upset, but basketball's all they care about. The Billy Napier thing is interesting. If they don't fire Billy Napier today, then, obviously he's coaching the next ball game. So, and the thing about Billy is he's kind of sticky. he might win a couple of games and give him some hope. He might go 6-6 or something like that. And here's the thing. If Billy wins any games, they're going to be great wins because they've got nothing but very difficult teams in front of them. So I'm as shocked at him getting fired as I am shocked that they lost to UCLA and Northwestern 2 weeks in a row. That seems impossible to me. I mean, can you imagine the betting odds you would have got on that? I'll take Northwestern and UCLA to beat Penn State 2 weeks in a row. You'd probably get 100,000 to 1. I mean, it's impossible. Michigan State. Yeah, Michigan State looked like crap. God, they looked like crap against UCLA. Their quarterback play is not good there. Not good at all. Oh, I tell you, my best friend, let's see. Yeah, I have no doubt of that. The Florida folks don't know what to do down there. They don't know whether they should root for their team or root against them. They have no idea at this point because of the simple fact they know short-term winning is great, but long-term it creaks them because if you keep Billy's never going to bring you to the promised land. You're never going to win a natty, which is what Florida cares about. You're never going to win an SEC. You're probably never going to see the playoffs with him. You'd have to win. You got to win 10 games to get in the playoffs, and he's not going to do that. And then next year you're going to 9 SEC games. So they might as well pony up the dough and get rid of him. But, yeah, Jerry, boy, that's a hot name right now. That's a very hot name, Neuheisel. Young guy. But he's only been offensive coordinator for 2 games. You can't bring him in as a head coach. That'd be crazy. Let's see. Just be Margaret. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm thrilled with Josh Heupel. We're 4-1, won 30 games last 3 years. He's doing fine. Good grief. If we had our defense from last year with this offense, oh, man. We've had too many injuries and we've lost too many guys, darn it. Although I will say I thought we looked pretty good there in the second half for most of our defense, and then all of a sudden we started going into that prevent crap. That drives me crazy. That prevent is – I about can't take it. And you would think so many times you let a team come back and almost beat you and sometimes do beat you that people would quit that, but they just can't. They just can't do it. It's always got to do it. What are we, 5-1? I believe we are. Gosh, I don't know. I'm in such shock right now. I'm not even thinking straight. I'm missing out games here. Let's see. Yeah, we're 5-1. I don't know why I said 4-1. Arkansas falls to 2-4. Of course, I think they ought to hire Bobby Petrino. He's the last great coach they had. If you think about it, I forgot about that ETS. See, that's the thing about early in the season. I don't even hardly count those games. See, I want to go to 9 games with the SEC because I remember those games so well, because when you play ETSU or a team like that, the game's over before you even start. It's easy to forget about them. You know, I thought Syracuse played us pretty well. You know, that's a good win. I thought that was a solid win. And they had their quarterback. They had Angeli. So, but who do you folks think that Penn State will go after? And it's not going to – look, folks in Penn State are living in la-la land about one thing. They think everybody's lined up to come coach for Penn State, and they're going to offer $8 or $9 million, and people are just going to fall over themselves to get there. The average coach in the SEC gets $9 million. All right, Josh is getting $9 million. Billy, I think Billy's a little bit less than $9 million. Kiffin's at $9 million. Let's see. Brian Kelly is $9.5 million, I believe. And, of course, the big dogs, Kalen DeBoer's at 10 something. And then you've got Kirby at 13. No, they're not getting Josh Heupel. I can go ahead and tell you that. And forget that. Although they wouldn't be stupid to at least make a call, see if he's interested. But no, Josh is going nowhere. That'd be a bad spot for him. Would not be a good spot for him. The team that would scare me a little, well, Oklahoma, although I think they're fine now. They've got a good quarterback. That would have been the one team that scared me a little bit just because he won a national title there, even though they did fire him. Maybe a team, Alabama, if Alabama went after Josh Heupel, maybe that would concern me, although they've got DeBoer forever, unless they want to come up with $70 million. And Florida doesn't concern me. There's no way he'd go there. So Golish. Oh, yeah, Golish. I tell you, that's a hot name. Golish would make a ton of sense. Big Ronnie, you may be right. You may be right. Oh, they got an interim, but I don't think he's somebody they're considering. Bill Belichick. Belichick to Penn State. Oh, my gosh. Well, what's your record, Flix Capacitor? They may be interested in you. There's plenty of beer up in Penn State. Let's see. To hire away yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to hire away. That's why a lot of them are going to go for Lane. They feel like Ole Miss is a stepping stone to the next level. And it kind of is. It kind of is, honestly. And it's because they've got, 50,000 seat stadium. They don't have huge money. They've got a decent-sized fan base, but it's not monstrous. The perfect fit for him is Florida, unfortunately. And that's probably who they're going to throw the world at. Florida will. They'll go after Lane with everything they got. But plus, that's what the fans want. Yeah, I mean, you don't hear them talking about too many other coaches other than Lane. Penn State, the Kurt Cignetti guy makes some sense. They'll probably go after him, but I think it'd be a mistake. Oh, yeah, I tell you, Pinky, you may be right about that. John Gruden. Man, that would be a very interesting hire. Woo. I tell you, I'd be a little bit concerned. Hell, Gruden's an awful good coach, and he's a motivator, but that'll be very interesting to see. John, I hadn't thought about Gruden, and he's out there. He'd take it. Here's the thing. He's available, and he would take the job, and they could probably get him for $8 or $9 million. Because he wants to kind of rebuild. His reputation took a huge hit over the emails, and he wants to rebuild that and kind of show people who he really is and all that kind of stuff. So he wants to get back in something awful. Yeah. Well, he must love it pretty good because I thought he was taking the job to Auburn. That's my understanding, and that his daughter talked him out of it, sent him a video and, made him feel bad. Franklin, aren't you? I don't know. Franklin to Florida. Ooh, Franklin to Florida. See, I don't know that he would immediately. He might look. He's got $50 million coming. He might take a year or two off. That's a lot of times what they usually just don't pop right back in. They're usually they like to take a year or two off. Think about everything that's happened in their life, write a book, go on vacation with their family and do all that kind of stuff, spend some money, buy a couple of Florida homes like Nick Saban liked to do. Yeah, you may be right. You're taking a risk if you bring a pro guy in right now. That the pro to college has not worked out very well, folks. Those are they're two different animals. I know that's supposed to be the new NFL. They're just different. It's just a different world. Franklin to UNC. Huh. Again, I don't think he'd go that quick. I don't know that. Boy, Bill Belichick, I don't think he's going to last. I think he'd be lucky if he gets to the end of the year. Urban Meyer. I don't think Urban wants to coach anymore. I just don't. I think he's done. I mean, Penn State would be if there was any team that he might go to, he likes the Big Ten. He knows it pretty well, and he feels like the fan bases up there aren't quite as crazy as the SEC is, and they're a little bit less brutal on you. But, I mean, he got fired at Ohio State, so after winning an Natty. So Bielema's good in the Big Ten. He struggled terribly in the SEC, but he's had a lot of success up there in the Big Ten. Ooh, here's a good name. Drinkwitz. I tell you what, Drinkwitz is 5-1 now. And I tell you, had that Prabula played better towards the end, they could have beat Alabama. Absolutely. He looked like a nervous cat out there in a room full of rocking chairs. His feet were antsy. He was throwing the ball quickly into the dirt. I mean, he did not impress me. The pressure got to that kid. That was too much pressure for him. Had they had Brady Cook, they win that game. I can go ahead and tell you. Mizzou would have won that game with Brady Cook. I knew they were going to miss him. He was a unique player. I was surprised he didn't get drafted a little higher. That was an interesting name, though, Drinkwitz. That'd be a decent hire, folks. Eli, and you could probably get Eli. You could probably get him. He's gettable. Butch Jones, no, Arkansas State had never let him go. Yeah, Pinky, I agree. I think I'd be a good fit for Penn State. I don't know how much of an improvement over James Franklin that is. It feels like a lateral move both ways. I think Franklin and Drinkwitz are kind of the same coach. That's not it's a good hire. It's not an exciting hire, and it's not worth paying $50 million to get rid of a guy for. But this happens with fan bases. They get ahead of themselves. They think we're the end-all, be-all, and they're going to find out they're probably not. There's only a few jobs that are that way. You've got Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Texas. Those are your, teams that they have so much money, such a perfect recruiting footprint, history, all that stuff, where they can kind of pick the guy they want. But even Alabama, they had to go give Kalen DeBoer the world, and he wasn't super proven. They were wanting to get rid of him a month ago. You remember Legend on SEC on Paul Feinbaum's show was freaking out. So, yeah. Well, I don't think the Penn State people, the players will leave because they can't play this year anyway, so I don't think you'll see that. You might see it at the end of the year. See, Clark Lee, I'm not sold on Clark Lee. I think he is the product of Diego Pavia. So I'm not sold on Clark Lee. Diego's such a unique character. It almost feels like he's a coordinator too. He's almost like co-head coach. Fran Brown. It's possible. I don't think that's not a improvement over James Franklin. They might end up regretting this, honestly. I would have waited till the end of the year and seen if he could have pulled it out. I wouldn't have fired him right now. That's that deal of familiarity breeds resentment. He's been there too long. And like I said, once you hit 10 years, and we saw that with Calipari up at Kentucky. Calipari, before he took the Kentucky job, he said, this is a 10-year job. You cannot stay longer than 10 years at Kentucky for basketball because they'll eat you up. And he stayed 12 years, and they ate him up. And that may be that way with Penn State. I think Ohio State's that way. Look, most teams are that way. They're going to eat you up eventually. You can't stay more than about 10 years, especially one where they expect natties. And Penn State, here's what they got tired of hearing. You can't beat Ohio State. You can't beat Oregon. You can't win the big games. They're tired of hearing that. And it was getting to them. But they were like, well, we can always count on the fact that he'll beat up the teams he should beat up on. That ended. You got beat by UCLA, then Northwestern, two teams that had no business even being on the same field with you. And there you go. Matt Patricia. He's the coordinator. Where is he the coordinator, Bradley? I can see him. He's got that beard. Is he at Ohio State? Is he the defensive coordinator? Yeah, he's a defensive coordinator, isn't he? Pat Narduzzi. He's a little old school for me. I don't know. Marcus Freeman, yeah. Why would you leave Notre Dame? Why would you leave Notre Dame? I just don't see it. Jeremy Pruitt. Wait a minute. Who's talking about Signetti and Mark Cuban? What are we missing on that? Adam, tell us what that is. Let's see. Charlie Wise Jr. Neon Dion. Interesting. Interesting names. Let's see. I knew he'd have to say, leave our Buckeyes. You can forget that, dude. They're going to come after your coordinators. You know that's the way it is. If y'all are winning a lot, you're going to lose your coordinators. That's just life. Ask Nick Saban. Saban could not keep a coordinator to save his life. Couldn't do it. George. No, y'all are stuck with Bobo. No. He's not bad. Bobo's okay. He's not, what's that, Todd? Who'd y'all have? God, Todd. I never can remember his name. Such a great offensive coordinator y'all had when you won those 2 natties. It's Todd something. Grantham or I never think of his name. Groomers. Yeah, there's going to be there's groomers everywhere. Arkansas groomers. Oh, yeah, Munkin. Todd Munkin. Man, if I never see him again on a Georgia sideline, it'll be too soon. I was so glad when he left. Oh, and now he went up to the NFL and killed it. Todd Munkin is killing it. Bobo's okay. His last name hurts him a little bit. Bobo the Clown. He's not bad. Dabo Sweeney. Oh, I don't know about that one. Gus Malzahn. That feels like a sideways hire to me. I don't know if that's a big improvement. Hugh Freeze. Neuheisel hadn't done enough. He's won 2 ball games, folks. You can't go ahead and crown him after 2 wins as coordinator. Les Miles, the Mad Hatter. Y'all want the Mad Hatter? I don't think so. It's not going to be Greg Schiano. And if you even talk to him and then don't hire him, you'll have Pat Forday on you forever. Jim Harbaugh. No, Jim Harbaugh's not coming back to college football. He's got a 10-year show cause, which does that mean anything these days? Ohio State wanted, yeah, I can see why. That's because he never beat you. Of course you did. Les Miles is growing a guard. Todd Grantham. Huh. Jimbo Fisher. I wouldn't hire Jimbo Fisher after watching him at Texas A&M when he puked on that 4th and 1 against Alabama when they should have beat him and he didn't go for it. I was done with him. And so was Texas A&M. I don't want a scared coach. I tell you, the Alex Golesh is not a bad name, folks. You get the Josh Heupel offense, and the guys, he's not afraid. And he's won a lot of big games down there with not a lot of talent. That might be a good hire. He's got a lot of upside. Matt Rule. It's an interesting name. I think just Connor staying with anybody. Just get Connor on the sideline and you'll win. You might not win the right way, but you'll win. Derek Dooley. No, Derek's running for Senate, Jake. He's our next. Oh my gosh, Shane Beamer. I hadn't thought about Shane Beamer. I can tell you who'd like that. Carolina Jackpot would be happy with that hire. He would drive Beamer up to Penn State. He likes Pennsylvania anyway. He'd drive him up there and help him move. Spurrier. Bob Stoops is done. He ain't coming back. coordinator at Miami. Boy. I don't, doesn't this feel sudden to you? You folks, don't you feel like they should have given him a chance? I don't, they may look back at this and regret it because he's had 3 good years in a row and they punted him quick after 2 bad losses. And these are bad losses. I kind of doubt it. I think they're Lane Kiffin or bust down at Florida. If they fire, and I see Billy might hang on. He might win 6 or 7 games this year. Nico's. Yeah, go ahead. They could pick up Nico in the portal and then put his dad as head coach. We've talked about, I just don't know about Dabo. I mean, he's worn out his welcome a little bit at Clemson, honestly, and he's kind of fed up with them too, but they kind of know they've got a good situation there with him. No, we're not. It won't be Belichick. Pat Fitzgerald. Pat Fitzgerald. Where do I know that name? That's an interesting name. I'm hearing Matt Campbell a lot. He is wasn't he the Iowa State guy? Let's see. Well, that's well, they've got an interim. Oh God, Deshaun Foster. I don't think so. UCLA. Well, they got the new Heisel as the offensive coordinator. That seems to be a huge move. And then they got an interim head coach. I can't remember his name. He's kind of a rah-rah guy. He gets everybody excited. I tell you, they've won 2 games I didn't expect. Dabo can't spell. Dabo. Northwestern, man. Iowa State, yeah. That's what I thought. I don't know. Lincoln Riley, no. He had a good win. USC did. They beat the crap out of Michigan, didn't they? I was so sad to see that. Oh. No, well, look, it's not like there's a lot of teams out there whooping up on Ohio State, so. Dan Mullen, it won't be Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen's doesn't recruit hard enough. Mullen's at what, UNLV? It won't be him. You know who might end up at UCLA is Dan Mullen. I could see him at UCLA. Yeah. Mike McCarthy, Jamie Chadwell, interesting name. Dan's not Dan's not leaving Oregon for any reason. He's got that unlimited Nike money. No, he's not going anywhere. So, anyway, good grief. There's almost 1,300 people in here talking about James Franklin. I know y'all have got to be shocked by this. I did not see this coming this quickly. I'm very surprised. Whew. I was working on an Auburn video, and then I'm going to work on a Tennessee video, my team, talking about Joey Aguilar. I got to do my comparison of Nico and Joey. We're so happy with Joey. He's doing great. Good grief. What a great pickup that wound up being for us. We thought we were in the ditch. We just didn't know we were in a great spot. You know, Franklin will coach again. He definitely will. And Virginia Tech would be a good spot for him, but I don't think he'll do anything for a year. I just don't. And Clark Lee's a hot name right now, but honestly, I'd want to see what he does without Diego before I hired him. So, anyway. All right, folks. I just wanted to bring you this news. I figured some of y'all had already heard of it, but my phone blew up. I mean, there's so many texts on here, I can't even begin to tell you. James Franklin's been fired. $49 million, folks. Pitt State's got the money. They have got the money. Woo. I cannot imagine paying somebody $50 million not to coach. That's insane. But it was $76 million at Texas A&M. But see, Pennsylvania, well, they got some oil rigs up there, don't they? That fracking and stuff. Maybe they got some big time money guys behind them. I would go. They would fire me after a year, though, because I couldn't beat. You got to beat Ohio State up there. No, absolutely. Josh Heupel's not going up there. I will stop that. Believe me on that one. I've already had to stop him from going to Oklahoma, even the talk of it. So I'll be all over that one. Josh is going nowhere fast. He's here for as long as we need him, which is at least 10 years. I told you I want him here at least a decade. I would let him retire when he's on a walker. When he's, when he puts the little tennis balls on the front, we'll let Josh retire. That's what I was going to do with Hendon Hooker. I was never going to let Hendon retire. I was going to have him out there until he couldn't run. Chilmont would take the job. Yeah, Chilmont would take that job in a second. So, anyway. All right, folks, I got to get back to work on other shows. But I had to break free to do this one. And we'll see what happens. I've got Lane Kiffin as my number one as far as who they're going to call first. I think that's the first phone call. Then John Gruden, I see him as a possible number two. Golish is probably my number three. The first two are splash hires. Lane is a guaranteed, he's going to win. John Gruden's a huge splash hire. There's some crap that goes with that. Golish has high upside, and you get the Josh Heupel offense. That'd be my top three. It may not be any of those guys, but that's who I think they'll be talking to for sure. Anyway, we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay. I may be coming later out here with a Billy Napier announcement. You never know. If he gets through Sunday, he'll be okay. You got to get through Sunday in this sport. That's the key day, especially if you have an off week. Anyway, we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay. I got another video coming out in a little bit.